So.
You guys want to say hi?
Hi, Butch.
Hey, Scott.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty damn good. How about yourself?
Pretty good week.
Yeah.
Pretty rough though. It was like I was out there with Wild Bill running around.
Yeah.
Busy as hell, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them kind of weeks.
Yes, sir. You know how it goes.
I know how it goes. I know how it goes. That's clever. I like that.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're doing little inside jokes as we kill a few minutes before we officially start the
I'm
podcast.
telling you.
Y'all ever want to see what goes on behind the scenes of a huge production?
This is it. You're looking at it.
This is a $2.98 production, folks. You know, you don't get to see it behind the scenes of them very often.
I'm telling you. Oh, man.
So, what do you think there, Mr. Sinclair?
Well, I think that we've progressed along real nicely with our training videos and, you know, the seminar coming up and getting that out there, but there's...
Yeah. Forgot about October 15.
Yep.
Oh, we forgot our lights. Our technician extraordinaire is fixing us up here.
Yep. I got to get some new help.
Yep. Forgot to bring that other one for the other side. I got a little one in the house we need to bring out here.
So, but yeah, we're just looking around and it's going great, but there's other, you know, we specialize in protection dogs and high obedience training and all levels that comes with. Same with the protection training, but there's also another side of dogs that I think is pretty cool.
What's that?
You know, what else can a dog do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dogs help people.
Mm-hmm.
They help them physically, mentally.
Yeah.
You know, service dogs.
Service dog. Yep. Big group of need and a lot of dogs that a lot of people need.
Okay.
And a lot of scammers.
Yeah. I mean, I know you've done 2 of my dogs, service dogs, or, you know. And aside from service dogs, there's also specialization dogs. You know, search and rescue, drug dogs. You know, finding kids, finding people. But that, to me, that's a service dog.
Oh, I agree.
In a different aspect, but it's still service.
Right. I've always agreed with that.
You know.
Yep.
But you know, I see a lot of people coming around. My dogs are service dogs.
Right.
And 2 of them are. The third one we're working on. And my wife takes them to the store, and we have all the vests and everything else. But sometimes I don't put the vest on. Why did you get that dog in here? Is he a service dog? And I always hold my tongue. There's a whole situation behind this, and we're not getting that right now. But my wife and everything else. But there are laws, right? So,
Yep. Very, very strict laws.
But see, I have true certificates and everything else that are real. I'm not trying to get my dog to be a service dog so we can get on a damn airplane, or I can walk poopy in the store, you know. And because I have Dobermans, people ask me all the time, "Is that a service dog?" It's a Doberman. I said, "Yeah, it's a service dog." You know, if I bring in my 4-pound Pomeranian with me, no one says a damn word. But it's still frustrating because the dogs have been trained and are certified in their areas of expertise as a service dog.
Well, why don't we go into those areas of expertise and some of the laws and all that other stuff?
That'd be a good one. We can do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we get this service dog thing? It started with the Americans with Disability Act under a guy named George H.W. Bush when he was president. So it goes back a day or two. And he's the man who's responsible for the Americans with Disability Act. That's what ADA means. That's why you got Mr. Handicap parking spaces everywhere, and you got ramps in places, and so.
Yeah, I do a lot of ADA myself.
You do a lot of ADA?
Well, when we build these buildings,
the
ADA codes for wheelchairs and special access, and there's a lot. It's a big thing. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then the codes, they are strict.
Right.
Fire marshal come in your building and say you're a 1/4 inch off on these walls, they're not the ADA specs. You're tearing it down, you're fixing it. They don't have. These guys have no game. So that's that kind of serious.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
It's a very big deal. Yeah. And after the ADA got started and was really working, there was a problem with, and I forget which war they came back from, but there were a lot of veterans who had various injuries, and several of them had were blind had seeing eye dogs, and they couldn't get into certain places because they couldn't bring their dog. And they lobbied, I forget who was head of the government at that time, but they lobbied and they got service dogs included in the ADA. I think it's ADA number 11 or something like that. And like everything, first time out of the chute, it takes a little finessing to get it right. You know, you give it your best shot when you first come up with these things, and then life corrects you for some of the things you've done. And service dogs have been, boy, they've been abused more than probably anything I know of. So in 2011, the ADA revised that Chapter 11 on the service dogs because, I mean, there were people who had service peacocks on airplanes. And
What?
yeah, service. That's what they said. And the way the ADA was written originally, you could not ask any questions. If someone says I have a disability and this is my service animal, you had to say okay.
Snakes on a plane.
That's it. Yeah.
6-foot python around your neck.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I was going to Puerto Rico with actually a hearing impaired dog, or dog for hearing impaired person, and I was bringing the dog back to Puerto Rico. We were on Southwest Airlines, who were real considerate, and they have their bulwark or build whatever he said. The section of the plane is real wide, and if you have a service dog, they'll always put you in those areas. And about halfway through the flight, stewardess come over and said, "Oh, can I pet your dog?" And I said, "Oh, yeah." I said, "He's in training. I'm training him as a service dog. I'm bringing him back to the owner." And she said, "Wow!" And she called another stewardess. She walked on. She went, "Wow!" And they said, "We've never seen a service dog so well behaved." If I'm lying, I'm dying. That's what they told me. I said, "What do you mean?" And they started in on stories about service dogs. The best one was some lady had some sort of a doodle mix, and she come on there, and this dog jumped up quarter way through the flight and commenced to going around meeting everybody, which wouldn't have been terrible, except the dog climbed up on the back of the seat and jumped to the next person, then on top of their seat and jumped to the next person, and then, you know, just went crazy. So the ADA tightened it up. They defined it. I don't understand one of their definitions. There's only two things allowed to be considered service animals. That's a dog, and I should have made a trivia question out of this, but it's too easy to find the answer. You know what the other thing is, Scott?
You know, horse?
Miniature horse.
Okay.
Yeah, miniature horse can be a service animal. So.
It's like a dog.
Yeah, like like a dog.
They're smart, you know.
Yeah. I've had dogs bigger.
I've never seen a service horse.
I never have either, but apparently somebody's got them. So
what you got?
What we got there, Carol-Ann?
Are there different types of service dogs and what kind?
We're getting to that.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's where we're getting to.
Good question. Good question.
Good question, though.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so yes, let's break them down. You have the general terms are service dog, emotional support animal, therapy dogs, and there's one other one I forget. So a therapy dog is like the dogs that go into hospitals. They go to old folks' homes and visit with the parent. That's not a service dog. That dog does not fall under the ADA regulations. Emotional support dogs, if you are a veteran with PTSD, a rape victim, PTSD, your emotional support dog can be a service dog. If you are a person with anxiety, he's not. It's got to be a diagnosed
How about
mental illness.
I've heard.
What?
I know somebody actually that has a dog that when her insulin's too low, the dog, if she don't take, she's an older lady. The dog knows when her insulin's too low. The dog's Is that a service dog?
He does what now?
Or insulin? She has diabetes.
Diabetes, yes. That's where you're getting to the medical realm. And that's what we mostly
sorry.
think of. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And the medical side of the service dog is amazing. Just absolutely unbelievable. There's several people that do service dogs that will tell you that about a third of all right, so let's narrow down the medical dogs. Diabetes, low blood sugar to detect it for you.
COVID?
Well, actually, Scott said COVID, yes. In France, at the height of the epidemic, because France, believe it or not, France, probably like Germany, France, Belgium, and Germany are probably, and Denmark, there's a lot of, everybody over in that side of the ocean do a lot more dogs than we do.
Across the English Channel.
Yeah, there you go. But in France, they trained dogs to detect COVID, and the dogs were like 99% accurate. They're more accurate than any manufactured man test. So there are also some cases where people believe, example, and I'm going to tell you how to know if you're getting scammed or not. Seizures, people that are going to have seizures, to detect prior, and then you have two different types of seizure dogs. You have a seizure response dog, which you have had your seizure, you're laying on the ground and you're not, you're comatose or whatever the term is, and a response dog will come lay on you, put body heat, warm, whatever, or will go get someone and bring them to you. In other words, a service response dog or seizure response dog is going to act after you have a seizure where you're unable to get help or to do any sort of medical recovery. The other one that a lot of people get confused with, and where a lot of people, I think, get scammed, is a seizure alert dog. A seizure alert dog will detect chemical changes in your body that are going to occur prior to the seizure, sometimes as much as an hour away from the seizure, depending on your condition. These dogs operate the same way a diabetes low blood sugar dog operates. So what they're doing is their nose is telling them about a chemical change in your body that gives off a distinct odor. Now, before I get into any more detail on that, there's one other one that before COVID was hugely popular. I would get probably 3 or 4 phone calls a month on this, and that's allergy dogs. Peanut butter allergies among kids, which can be fatal. And there were people, they got, a couple of people got on national TV and said, these dogs will alert if there's, because there's like peanut oil that restaurants use to cook in. All these things can harm someone who's allergic to peanuts.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
Yeah, and just because you order your French fries, you don't realize that they got
peanut. They're cooking peanut oil.
Yeah. So
best oil ever.
Yeah. So this was another big thing that was real popular. It's sort of faded away now. And which on your medical things, to go back to that, the way it works with seizure dogs, I still get regular requests for a seizure dog. And we're talking about dogs that are $20,000, $30,000, much as executive protection dogs, right? And they'll ask me if I can train one, and I'll say, sure, and I explain to them the process. It's a simple process. I can get a dog to detect anything with its nose if I have that odor. So in order to train, last week a gentleman, ex-Marine, thanks sir, picked up his dog, and we're talking about different things, and he said something about, could you teach my dog to I have heart problems? And I said, sure, but I'd be glad to. And all we need is we've got to get an odor. When your body chemistry changes, We need that odor. You can get it two ways. You can get it for a body swab with perspiration or breath. Both of those things will work. So if you'll just bring your dog, I'll get his obedience down, get it firmed up, and then all you have to do is have a heart attack and let me tell somebody to swab your body and bring me that odor. And if you live through it, I can train this dog to tell you about the next one.
Now, is it specific to each individual? That's what I'm getting at. So if you got, how do you get those dogs built then? If you have to, someone has a heart attack, do they have the pheromones or they need from somebody else because of chemical imbalance, which is the same thing in all humans? What happens, correct?
Great question. And medical science and dog trainers don't know at this point if there's a common denominator, like, like gunpowder. If you get a dog to smell gunpowder, he can probably detect about 20 other types of explosives because they're using sulfur as a common denominator.
Right. So you're telling me that common denominator is a scent.
Right.
And a dog looking at you going, your dog can feel you're going to have a heart attack.
Yeah, well, that's all right. Now that's a great one. So we'll get into that here just a
Sorry, I
little
didn't mean
bit.
to go ahead of the schedule
No,
here, but
that's all right. That's all right. You're throwing good things to me. Yeah.
I got something else that's good because I just found it.
Okay.
It said, remember that the protection cannot be the qualifying reason for a service dog, but it can be an additional duty that the dogs provide.
Protection work.
no.
Oh yeah.
No, the dog.
It said it right here, that can't be the qualifying, so if I have a dog that retrieves and helps me, can't use my right arm, but he also has been trained to protect me, he can still qualify as a service dog. As long as his only duty is not the protection part, it's gotta have something else.
No, that's not right.
That's what it says right here.
Nope. This is,
Where is it in writing?
Yeah,
By who?
I'm reading it.
Who wrote it? What is it? Where did the document come from?
Top tier canine.
see, I heard that differently than what she's saying.
Yeah, I know the language of the ADA itself. And top
Yeah.
tier, if you can send me your source for that, I would greatly appreciate it.
Okay,
I mean, but to me, the protection to me would be the well-being of his human, not to protect him from getting bit.
Right.
That's totally different. I'm reading it.
Right.
It's to protect you from dying or falling. You can't hear, protect you from a car coming.
Right.
That kind of protection.
But the ADA is about people with disabilities.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If you have disability, the dog's going to protect you from
Well,
harm. That's what I'm hearing that.
You can say that,
But-
but I mean, that's what I'm saying. I'm curious
Anyway,
where top tier.
We'll talk about this later on. We'll
Yeah.
side table this and take it on.
Yeah, let's get back to the heart detection thing. And then top tier, please give me your source and let me see what I can figure out on it. So, where were we? We'll save questions
The
to
heart
the end,
attacks.
Carol Ann. Yeah,
Can they feel something instead of a scent?
yeah, it's right now we use all medical detection dogs work off scent.
Right.
But there are people in Europe that are, again, 50 years ahead of us in dog stuff, that are going through trying to determine if there's a common denominator, if there's one particular hormone that kicks off in a body to trigger all seizures or all heart attacks. If they can ever prove that, then you could use any dog trained. And the way they get odor now is, like for a seizure dog, after someone has a seizure and they come through, you immediately swab their body or capture their breath. Now you have the chemical imbalance in that person's body with an odor that the dogs can detect.
So both can work together, though.
It's what?
Both can work together.
Yeah.
The European thesis of the emotion or the body's going through, aside being chemical,
Right.
because a dog knows if you're nervous, a dog knows if you're scared, a dog knows if you're happy. Dogs feel these emotions also.
Right.
So they might be basing their theses off of this.
Right.
But with the breath from the seizure person, and a dog has already seen it once or twice and knows it, now he'll put the two together.
Right.
So you don't have to have a seizure. As the chemicals go up and the body changes, the sweat, everything else, and the whole tension of the body and
Right.
everything else.
Right.
So
But
It makes sense.
yeah, and here's what can happen prior to that. Now, this is what happened with a low blood sugar. I had a gentleman several years ago. He's again retired military, and he had equilibrium problems. And he came to me wanting to know if he could get, if you've seen the seeing eye dogs, they have a special harness that's raised up above the dog's back anywhere from 18 to 20 something inches. So a person that's sightless can hold on to that, and the dog can guide him where he needs to go, right? So I believe the guy's name was James. He wanted to know if we could get one of those harnesses, and he could use that as a steadier on a dog, put it on a dog, and then hold on to that handle if he felt a little woozy to steady it. Sure, I don't see why not. So at the time, I had a little golden retriever. Hey, Carmen, I want to talk about your dog. Who a lady had abandoned here. Smart, good dog, really sharp dog, and all her obedience was spot on. Remember, the main requisite, the first requisite for a service dog, the ADA says it out in plain. They've got a paragraph set aside that says just this: the dog must be under handler control at all times. That's the main thing. If your dog's under control, no one's going to question you. So this little golden was real well behaved, had all her obedience. So I introduced the two of them. They hit it off. He buys the dog. I get him the harness. Life is good. About, I don't know, many months later, I get this phone call. And I keep on, the Lucky keeps coming back to me. Now, that may be the dog's name. And anyway, he says, hey, Butch, I just want to thank you again for Lucky. I said, well, you're more than welcome, and he said, I got to tell you what she did. I said, what's that? And he said, well, now remember, this dog she was 10 to 12 months old when I got her. She raised in a family setting with kids. The wife got rid of her because she was jumping on the kids. And I got her, trained her. Now he got her as an equilibrium dog. That's the only training she's had, is obedience and standing steady when someone puts weight on her. James and his wife were out to eat one night, and she's under the table where she goes whenever they go out to restaurants, and she starts scratching at him. She gets out from under the table and starts jumping up in his lap, and he could not get her to get under the table and stay still. Finally, he decides, I've had enough of this. He tells his wife, I don't feel good anyway. I don't know what, I'm just tired. Let's go. So they load up the dog, they go home, get to the house, sitting back, and he says, I know it's early, but I just don't feel right. I'm going to bed. So he goes into bed, and then the dog sleeps in the bedroom with him. And he calls his wife. He comes back out with the dog and says, hey, keep her in here. She won't let me sleep. She keeps scratching at me and she's grabbing the covers and pulling them off of me. I don't know what's got into her, but just keep her in here. And he's really upset at this point. Wife says, okay. He goes back in, he goes to bed. Lucky, the dog, sits at the wife's chair for a few minutes while she's watching TV, and then goes right over to the door and starts scratching at the door, scratching at the door, scratching at the door. Wife thinks, Jesus, I don't know what's with her, but she goes and she opens the door. She sticks her head in, and the dog runs right into the bedroom. Wife sticks her head in the door and says, James. He doesn't answer. She goes over to the bed, shakes him. He is not sleeping. He's unconscious. He is completely out of it. She calls an ambulance. They pick him up. They get him to the hospital. Do all they need to do to bring him to. Doctor comes out, talks to the wife, says, it's a good thing you got him here when you did, because his blood sugar levels, I forget the levels, but he was near death. So This dog who'd never been trained for anything, even remotely resembling a detection dog, let alone a medical detection dog, but who was so close to her handler, knew the changes that occurred in his body were bad. And it started telling him what was going on almost 2 hours before it happened.
That's what I'm saying. It's amazing.
Yeah, so I visited with something called medical mutts. Jennifer, oh good grief. Jennifer, I'm sorry, I can't see your last name in my mind. Tele, Jennifer Tele. And they're probably one of the most amazing service dog groups I've ever run across. Their webpage, Medical Mutts, has information just out the wazoo.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're very legit. They use rescue dogs. They take them out of the pound. They test them. The ones that pass the test, they train up for service dogs. The ones that don't, they find homes for them. Just an amazing group who can always use your support too, by the way, if you want to save a dog and rescue and
help somebody.
Yeah,
maybe save a life.
Yeah, Medical Mutts is the way to go.
Medical Mutts.
If you just want information, if you're looking at getting a dog and you don't want to get scammed, because there's a lot of scammers out there, go to their website. They'll show you. They break it down, everything that you're looking for every type of service dog that there is, and how to tell what they are. So I was talking to Jennifer, and I told her about James Lucky, and I said, how common is it for a dog to just pick up? And she said that she believes, and she's been doing this for a day or two, she believes that about a third of all dogs that are close to their owners have this natural ability to pick up these changes. And it's one thing to pick up the changes in your body, it's an entirely different one to alert you to the problem. It's the alert that you have to train. It's not finding the whatever. So she said about a third of all dogs she believes can do this. Now you mentioned heart attacks. Here's another one. I didn't mean to go so strong with medical, but I find this stuff fascinating. So you mentioned the heart attacks, right? Mm-hmm. Now, how else could they discover you're having a heart attack besides smelling a chemical change? Any ideas?
Yeah, your body goes into pains, you start panicking, your emotions change.
Your emotions change, but what's the dog picking up on?
Panic.
Why is it panic?
So I'm dying, damn it.
That would do it. That would do it. So, but your body's chemically changed.
Yes.
What else besides chemical changes do you think could pick up?
Your emotions. Just the way you're feeling, what you're doing in your body, how you're reacting.
But all those things are going to cause chemical changes.
Yeah, but that's okay.
So how about hearing?
I don't know the right of heart attack.
Well, I never had one either. So. But what someone mentioned to me is that their hearing is good enough that if all of a sudden in this
A dog's hearing.
irregular heartbeats.
Dog's hearing, not my hearing.
Yeah.
I was going to go deaf when I had a heart attack here in a few weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, good.
So your heart goes ka-thump, 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 thump, 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 ka-thump, 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 thump. So irregular heartbeats are possible. Jennifer Tilley at Medical Mutts has a fascinating theory. She said that there may be, what do you
Go on. I just figured something out, I think. Go ahead.
Okay.
It makes a lot more sense now.
She said that if you watch wolves hunting, if they're hunting a herd like a buffalo, they will circle that herd for hours. And they'll pick out one that's weak. And that's the one that they'll chow down on, if they can cut it away from the herd a little bit. So her hypothesis is that there may be a dog's so keen on reading our body language, but we, as we're weaker, we will move differently. We may even breathe differently. This is where the hearing comes in. But that dogs may be able to sense more things about us, especially when we're in distress,
Heartbeat.
than we have even uncovered to this date.
You put all together the motion, the chemicals, and people get nervous around dogs. They start sweating. Their heart rate goes up. Their body's twitchier.
Yep.
So it all ties together. So it's not just movement.
Right.
It's not feelings.
Right.
It's actual cognizant forces of your body, what they do.
Yep.
Because dogs ain't cognizant like that for feelings.
Right.
And we have a podcast, go back about 6 weeks, we do have feelings, but not like this. We stop at level 3. They stop at level 3, go to level 6.
Can they, like if you're having epilepsy or something like that, and you go to the doctors and they draw blood, can they find, can they see a difference when they do lab work?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll have one chemical called cortisone. It'll kick in at any time of stress. Yeah. Oh, there's definite markers. There's your whole hormonal system
Would you
changes.
be able to take, like, if you drew blood from somebody, takes that sample and also have the dog smell it? Or would they
Yeah.
just smell blood?
No.
No. All right. So how do dogs' noses work? Let's clear that up. That's a great question, Carol Ann. Good lead in. So dogs, we like, oh, they're smelling. That's awful. It's roadkill, right? And they're checking it out. That odor, that decaying odor, is a combination of the hair rotting, the skin rotting, the stomach contents, what the creature was eating before, grass or whatever before. When dogs smell something, it's called the vermonasal pad. It's in the nose. That's the thing that imprints, that all the air goes past, it imprints. And I forget the exact number, but theirs is like 10,000 times larger than ours. And all this area can absorb different molecules. And so when they sniff what to us is a horrible smelling, to them,
It's a story.
it's each one individually.
Right.
They smell each individual thing that made up that, what we know as a total odor. So that's why we take a blood sample, stick it under a microscope, and check this, check this, check this, check this. Dogs walk up to the blood and go, ooh, too much cortisol. He was about to have,
Yeah.
So that's how their noses work. Now, if we take it to the extremes, if all this is correct, if their hearing, if their ability to watch our body language, we've probably got one of the greatest medical machines that's ever been put on the earth.
True service.
Yeah, sitting under our beds. Now, I'm sure Big Pharma's not going to let you, they want you to buy a pill.
It will debunk your theory.
Yeah, but it's just, we kind of strayed away from the legitimate service dog thing that we started to talk about. The main thing I want people to take away from this is there's a lot of ways a dog can help you. And there's a lot of service dogs that are out there. There's also a whole lot of people trying to get a service dog license, go online and get a little fake barcode, and then call the airlines and say, hey, well, right now the airlines have clamped way down on even shipping dogs because of all the scammers coming on there claiming they've got a service dog, people getting bitten, those stewardesses that I ran across being shocked at a dog that behaves. Remember one thing, and I understand everybody wants to take their dog with them. Everyone wants to, go on an airplane with their dog. That's cool. Buy your dog a seat. Just buy an extra seat. Tell them straight up and see. Because 2011, they had to go back and rewrite the ADA laws because of people misusing that rule that helps so many people. This is 2021, and there's already been incidences. There's not a certificate. No, excuse me. Assistance Dogs International is the only qualified, in my opinion, certification system for dogs. And all these different businesses and airlines, and probably you, never even know they existed. So, since we don't have a uniform certification system for service dogs, think about someone who is truly in need of that dog. Think about a kid with diabetes that's going to go on a 8-hour flight to Hawaii with his parents for vacations. And because a whole lot of people wanted to bring dogs who were not trained properly on a plane, and the commotion got so bad for the airlines, they've stopped it. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
So, one last thing, we got to do our trivia question.
Are we giving it away this week or not?
Huh?
We're giving the answer away this week?
No, I think we'll give another chance. I think we had several people call me and a couple emailed me. So let me clarify this real clear. We're talking about Old Yeller, the book and the movie making grown men cry since 1956.
Circa.
Yeah. So here it is. I'm not talking about inspiration for Old Yeller. I'm not talking about the stories behind Old Yeller. I'm talking about Mr. Gibson, who wrote the book, has compiled a lot of incidences with a lot of different dogs into the story of Old Yeller. For those of you that are not familiar with it, I'm going to go real quick. Stray dog pulls up to a farmhouse.
In a van.
Yeah, they, you know, the kids fall in love with the dog. They feed him. He's their constant companion, and then he protects the family, and then things happen. Okay. The trivia question is, since there were many stories about dog stories compressed into this one story that inspired Mr. Gibson, the end of the story.
End.
The last thing that Old Yeller did was inspired by an incident that occurred to a famous American frontiersman. The end of that story, the actual events exactly that Mr. Gibson wrote about were done by, happened to this famous frontiersman. Check out the end of the book or the end of the movie, and then check it out. And we need the name of the frontiersman, we need the name of the dog, and we need the breed of the dog.
Yep.
And I'll juice it up a little bit and get some extra stuff to throw in for a prize if you can get it. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, get them all looking. I want everybody looking for this one.
Yep. So, because they say, the answer was already said, it's already out there, but we never said it, right? Mm-hmm. So, basically, hope you all had a good time tonight. We had a great time talking about this. Send your questions, YouTube, Facebook, you know, Lifetime Training Dog, and like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and, remember the Alamo, but it's all about the dogs.
Night, folks.